think we're live. Let's get some light on these trails. Happy Halloween, folks. So let's see, I got some messages here. Let's see, we got... let's look. Oh, we got a conversation going on and everything back 15 minutes ago. Happy Halloween, everybody. Nanny Nan, you were here. Missed him tea timers. That's fun. Well, thank y'all for stopping by. Happy Halloween, folks. We're going to give it a couple minutes for things to spin up here, get some traction, get recommended, and then we're going to tell some scary stories. Hope y'all are having a howdy doody one, I guess I almost said, but I guess that works. Hope y'all are having a good Halloween. The woods are really quiet right now. It is a little chillier than last night, but last night I think it was probably 5 degrees Fahrenheit, 1 or 2 degrees Celsius if you're European, warmer than it was tonight. Yet for some reason, it was a lot louder. You could hear a lot more crickets. There's always something about the woods in what is winter or borderline winter that's a little bit eerie. Also, it probably doesn't help that I was watching The Conjuring with my wife a few minutes ago. So, we're gonna prop down here in a different spot than last night, even though last night's spot worked pretty well. And I'm gonna see if I can give you some interesting lighting. As you can tell, there's some apartment complexes over here, one of which may or may not be where I live. I didn't want to get too far from home tonight. I'm gonna prop up here. Let's check this out. Weird noise, weird clicking noise. We got I think there's a lot of geese here that are unhappy about my presence. Maybe I should go away for the sake of local fowl populations being able to do whatever they do at night. Just looking for a good spot to prop up, tell some stories. If there was a good log I could sit on, that'd be nice. Let's see if there's a log. I'm probably not going to be so lucky. Let me pull up my adult flashlight here. It's going to be dark for 1 second. Yeah, troll, you are correct. Quiet woods are creepy. If you can hear, I mean, you can probably hear. Let me be quiet for a second. Nothing but the wind. So let's... Oh, that's brighter. What's this? Let's check this out. I know I'm going off trail, which I shouldn't do, but when you're in a moderate-sized city, going off trail doesn't seem to matter that much. What do we think? This seems pretty rotten. What about this? How steady is this? I think if I sat on that, it's going to break under me. Let's, you know what? We're just going to sit off the trail. I'm going to lean against a tree, slope downhill. We'll tell some stories that way. With a backdrop of the spooky, scary woods. Stairs in the woods, yeah. I've found stairs in the woods before and I've walked up them. And I have to admit, I've always wondered if I've still been in the same, plane of reality. Oh, looky here. Now let's inspect here that there's nothing too nefarious going on, but this looks like a proper, good log to sit on. Let's see, let's do the butt test. Oh yeah, this is a nice one. All right, so I'm gonna prop my light up here. And I didn't bring my Ouija board again, but just in case something fun happens, I did bring old EMF meter along for a party. And let's, actually, you know what? You probably don't want to look at the EMF meter. Let's have the vibe be the woods at night. Oh, I need to clear out some of these leaves, though, so I can sit down on a stable surface. All right. Is it going to be level? All right. Let me make sure I can see y'all. Time to buy a portable chair. Bitter Troll, you're right. I actually do have a portable chair. I have not been using it too much, so I should. I think I'm actually just going to hold this with one hand, and then I'm going to tell the stories with my other hand, so that I can pan around. I've noticed when I walk and I tell stories in the past, because I am an old man, I get a little bit winded, and so I'm going to be stationary. It's been about 6 minutes, so I think it's storytelling time. So, what I thought I'd do today, nothing too special, but I'd tell a little bit of a few stories I've told before. Hello, angels. The train is warning you. Yes, Kimberly, it is. And I would, tell some stories I've told before, but live. And hopefully I don't stutter or anything. So, we'll get to it. The nice backdrop of the train in the background. And I'll probably leave this one uploaded. And last night's live stream and others, I'm going to try and do my best to upload them to T-Spot. So let's get to it. Today, we're telling a few scary stories set here in the woods of Michigan. 3 of them are ghost stories. And I thought, for fun, I'd throw in a cryptid story too. So, we're going to start with what is my favorite ghost story in Michigan. That of the Michigan Bell Telephone Company. So in Grand Rapids, Michigan, there's actually a building named the Michigan Bell. It's on the corner of Fountain Street and Division Avenue. And the building is rumored to be among the most haunted places in all of Grand Rapids. But to figure out how a building that's associated with, as you've probably heard if you watch this video, telecommunication companies became haunted, we have to go further back in time to the early 1900s and the late 1800s. When Grand Rapids was a city associated with the lumber and the railroad industry. See, during this time, there was a couple, Warren and Virginia Randall. Funny, because I was just watching The Conjuring with my wife, which is about the Warrens. But they are, presumably this Warren was his first name, so he wasn't related to them. They moved to from Detroit to Grand Rapids for employment. And after this, they lived inside of a small one-room apartment in a building that used to be a mansion named the Judd White House. Warren was a brakeman for the railroad in Grand Rapids. And if you've watched this channel at all, you know that brakemen have a habit of losing arms, or in this case, legs. Brakemen, if you don't know, they're kind of what they sound like. I think back in the day, they essentially signaled trains to brake or any other mechanical issue that needed any sort of warning. They worked along the railroad tracks, to be short. And my understanding is sometimes they served kind of general purpose roles, so not always the safest job back in the day. So, anyhow, as I said, in this case, he had some issue with his legs. So in 1908, on a hot summer day, Warren actually got into an accident. This resulted in him needing to get a wooden prosthetic limb, his leg. The loss of this limb took away his ability to work, and this led him to develop depression, and then anxiety, and then symptoms, much more severe, such as paranoia and hallucinations. Ultimately, he began accusing Virginia, his wife, of cheating on him too, and became skeptical of about her every move. Apparently, there were multiple documented police calls to the residence during this time that culminated in a 1910 evening when Warren actually chased Virginia with a sharp object. Some reports I've seen claimed it was a razor, others that it was a knife, but regardless, this led Virginia to leave Warren. And for weeks after this, she refused to see him. But apparently, he was able to convince her to relent, and one night they met up in public, and that night, that was all he needed to lure her back to the home. Now, after this, Virginia wasn't seen for weeks. That is, until the police got a call about a horrible smell coming from their old apartment. I don't think I need to explain how this ended. Ultimately, both of them, Virginia and Warren, passed away that night, and it was determined that Virginia was beaten with Warren's wooden leg, which I don't want to laugh at, but is, definitely a scene. Anyhow, after this incident, it's worth noting that despite Warren and Virginia apparently being deceased, they were just as active in their old apartment, and even though it was vacant, screams were heard in the night from their apartment by their neighbors, in addition to ongoing sounds of thumping on the floor, which many presumed to be Warren's ghostly wooden leg. This all came to a close, though, in 1924, because this home that this took place in, it was torn down, and the Michigan Bell office was constructed. So, briefly, Grand Rapids residents were thrilled that this haunted place was behind them, and they thought that with the demolishing of this building, the haunting was gone for good. If only things had gone that way. See, shortly after this, the Bell building was built in 1924, and supposedly late at night, residents of Grand Rapids would be woken up to the sounds of their, get this, phones ringing, only to hear nothing on the other end of the call. They thought this was a rash of pranksters at first, of course, and the police were called because of this, and they managed to track the calls back to, well, you guessed it, the Michigan Bell building. Now, as far as I'm aware, there's no resolution to these ghost stories. It's never said anywhere that these phone calls really stopped, and perhaps these phone calls might very much be alive, and now just kind of blend into all the other robocalls and the scam calls from Kolkata, India, that we get on a daily basis anyways. And other places around the world. There's plenty of places that are hubs for scam calls. I should be equitable. Now, I must say, this is I think I said this at the end when I showed this in the video. This is one of my favorite ghost stories. If this is indeed just a story, it's very much just spectacular. If you built a telecommunications building on top of a real haunted place, those ghosts would start to make phone calls. It's really kind of the chef's kiss. So anyhow, if you live in the Michigan area, or you're getting some strange phone calls with no one on the other end from a Michigan area code, maybe you're being haunted by this old Bell telephone building haunting. So that is story number 1. Let's check the comments. Sounds like it would have been from Tales of the Crypt. That does kind of sound that way, honestly. And also, you're right, that job certainly has no benefits. Oh, official Sparkly Pig. Are you the same as normal Sparkly Pig? But nice seeing you. Howdy. I think you are the same as normal Sparkly Pig. I just didn't notice your tag was official Sparkly Pig, or maybe that changed. Bitter Troll. I get calls like that mostly from an old girlfriend looking for money. Well, I'm sorry about that, Bitter Troll. I personally actually get a lot of spam calls. I had a bad habit of, when I got them, I would pick up the phone and harass them. Maybe not harass them, but I would mess with them. And it turns out all you need to do is pick up the phone, and that signals to them it's a live number, and then they start spamming it more. So, I messed that one up. But anyhow, Bitter Troll, does your ex-girlfriend have a wooden leg? Is that the discussion going on? Very fun. But good to see. 79691 says, I do that too. So glad I'm not the only one picking up ghost calls. So, anyhow, in lieu of any hide-behinds watching me in the forest, I haven't seen one yet. Although, I didn't finish editing, so maybe it'll come out in Day of the Dead. I did think I saw something weird appear behind a tree, but I was in the forest for a while when I was doing my 100,000 subscriber special, which I may or may not release, but I probably will. I will eventually make one. I just don't know if that one was right. But anyhow, on to story number 2. Oh, and I saw someone say Happy Samhain. Be Brit, Happy Samhain, and Happy Samhain to everybody, really. So our next story is one y'all from Wisconsin might know well, and it's a cryptid story. The Beast of Bray Road. So in 1936, just outside of a town named Jefferson, which is about 27 miles from Elkhorn, Wisconsin, which will be a focal point for the story, there was a man named Mark Shackleman. He was doing his nightly rounds as a watchman for the school that was nearby, the St. Coletta School for Exceptional Children. On these rounds, he wasn't armed, he was just a watchman. He was carrying a flashlight, touring the school and the grounds, making sure that nothing was awry. And now of note is that surrounding these schools, there was and there still is, there's an orchard, there's wide open fields, And there's also preserved Native American burial grounds. That's important. The approximately 30-year-old Shackleman on this evening, from my impression, was used to his job being pretty boring. There would likely never be a burglar during his shift, and maybe at worst, he might run into some rowdy teenagers. But this night, he was surprised to see a shadow in the distance while he was walking across the open fields, and he noticed that whatever this form was, it was digging into one of the native burial grounds, and kind of in the way a dog might dig into the ground. Now, before shining his light, he could tell this was probably some form of canine, if not for the fact that whatever this was absolutely gigantic. This creature also noticed him, probably scaring him when it stood up, and, at least by his description, it looks like the creature was about 6 feet tall, with a canine face, but sort of a man-like body. It was bipedal, and it growled at him. Shackleman, of course, started to retreat, but lucky for him, the creature just ran off into the nearby woods. The next night, Shackleman returned for his shift on guard duty. And again, while walking the fields, I'm sure he was scared of this, he saw the same creature. And apparently he readied himself again for conflict. And again, I know I've said that 3 times now, this creature noticed him quickly, but this time when it growled at him, he thought it may have been making a variety of noise that was kind of human. With one report I'm reading saying that the noise it made sounded like he was saying Gadara before walking away. Shackleman at this time inspected what the beast had been doing, and he noticed that there were claw marks made on the ground, and that whatever this creature was, it smelled of rotten meat, and was covered in dark or perhaps black hair. Sorry, sometimes the geese making certain noises scare me. Going on, whatever this was, it's thought that Shackleman on these nights reported the first encounters with what would come to be known later as the Beast of Bray Road. Now, in most documentaries you hear about refer you to the Bray Road encounters of the 1980s, for which this creature was named. This creature from 1936 was named. But in 1972, it's worth noting a woman that resided just a couple of miles from St. Coletta, a couple of miles from St. Coletta, the church and school at which Shackleman saw the beast, actually saw some sort of heavy creature multiple times that appeared to her like a large ape to her. And during her second encounter with the creature, it apparently came up to her home and rattled her screen door, afterwards going and injuring one of her horses, putting a gash of about 30 inches into its neck before leaving. Then we get into the real meat and bones of the story, the real accounts that are why this creature is called the Beast of Bray Road. So in 1989, Lori Indrizzi was driving home. Some sources say she was with a friend, and she was heading down Bray Road in the morning from her shift as a manager at a local bar and grill. Sorry, there was a car stopped behind me, but it moved on. So she noticed something large off the road, apparently eating, or at least grasping at some roadkill. In her headlights, she noticed this in her headlights, and she noted that whatever this beast was, it had long claws, dark brown or maybe gray fur, and it was about the size of an adult male, and it looked to be about 150 pounds. Whatever it wasn't scared a single bit by her car passing it, and then the creature actually would give chase to her vehicle for a while before giving up. She apparently saw this in the rearview mirror. Now, the next day, she apparently went to the library to research archives for anything resembling what she saw, and she managed to come across an article describing werewolves. And according to the source I'm referencing, this was exactly what she'd encountered in her eyes. So, I find it interesting that she hadn't heard of werewolves in the 1980s before this, when that was a pretty, at least in my mind, from what I can tell, a pretty common cryptid back then, but I digress. But this isn't the end of the saga. So, in 1991, on actual Halloween night, no less, so tonight, how old am I? 34 years ago? Is that right? One individual named... Oh, I had lost my camera. Okay. One individual named Doris Gibson was actually driving on Bray Road as well, making her way through the fog. Suddenly, though, Doris's car hit something with its front left tire. Now, of course, like the protagonist of any horror movie, Doris got out in the middle of the night, in the fog, on this dark back road to check if her car was damaged. Bad choice. But upon doing so, whatever it was she slammed into came charging out of the woods. In a direct quote from her, she was like, "Here comes this thing, just running at me. It was no dog. It was bigger than me. I've never seen a human run like that, and my uncle was a track star." Huh. This makes me imagine sending the Beast of Bray Road to the Olympics, if we could catch it or maybe tame it. Regardless, Doris did get back in her car like a smart individual and slammed her foot on the gas. And in this moment of acceleration, whatever this beast was managed to grab a hold of her car's trunk and held on for some time. That said, this night it was foggy, following rain, so her car's trunk was slippery, and the beast apparently slipped off. Later this night, she actually picked up some friends from a Halloween party, and on her way home, she made the dubious decision of driving down Bray Road. During this drive, her friend apparently pointed out the window and screamed when she saw something similar to like a dogman-like creature beside the road. This time, Doris had the good sense not to slow down and accelerated away down Bray Road. Finally, this evening, when she got home, she finally inspected her Plymouth Sundance, her car, for damage, and she noticed 3 large claw marks on the back of her vehicle where the creature had been. So there are more stories than this in the 90s too. There was even a sighting just what am I reading here? I wrote some weird stuff sometimes in these scripts, and I apologize. So there are more stories than this. For instance, just a little bit away in Lake Geneva. But I think you get the point. There's a wolf-like creature in this area that was seen running across an approximately 40-mile area range from Jefferson to Elkhorn, and even a bit further south, but focused on this Bray Road region, where our protagonist saw it and made questionable decisions. Now, as for what this is, folks can't really agree. The most common culprit is that of a werewolf or dogman, but others think it's pretty close to the description of the Bluff Monster or Eddie, 2 Bigfoot sort of creatures that are also prolific in Wisconsin. Even still, some claim this is a Wendigo, which I'm not sure of. Regardless, it's not like we have any proof on the matter anyhow. All we know is that something strange has been prowling near Bray Road and Elkhorn, and if you're driving that way at night, you might want to take heed before you stop your car. Also, one more quick note before we move on. I did a little research and looked high and low for what that phrase, Gadara, could have meant in any language. Again, this is the phrase that the night watchman heard the creature utter during the second ever encounter with the beast. And what I found was honestly pretty scary. I'm not easily scared, but there's a mention of a very similar word, funny enough, in the Bible of all places. This word references a site in ancient Judea, where Jesus apparently exorcised a demon from a man who was coming from the tombs of the city. Perhaps if this is in some way connected, there's a reason this creature was first sighted near Native American burial mounds after all. So that is the story of the Beast of Bray Road. I probably shouldn't shine a light towards the roadway. Speaking of Beast of Bray Road, and you know I am in the woods of Michigan, which isn't too far from Wisconsin. So maybe I should be more scared than I am, but I love these woods. They make me feel safe. Also, when you stare at a screen and read a story, you see a weird checkered pattern in the woods. What just fell out of my... No. I lost my EMF meter. Happy Halloween, folks. Let's see. So when you are live streaming, you're always setting off your EMF meter. There's always ghosts. Let's check some comments before we move on to story number 3. Bitter Troll. Geese are the scariest of all local birds. They really are. They chase you. Although turkeys will sometimes chase me around where I live right now. Happy Salmon. Why did I say salmon? Oh my gosh. I know it's salmon. Samhain. Oh my gosh. This is like, no offense. I know regionally some people say salmon. But where I'm from, or at least my family said salmon. Samhain. Let's see. I doubt the Beast of Bray Road is going to cross Lake Michigan to get you. Troll, you might be onto something. But I wouldn't blame the Beast of Bray Road for having it out for me personally. I tend to doubt these things a lot, even though I find ghosts and cryptids very intriguing, but I doubt them. But enough about me. Let's tell a couple more stories. Yeah, Maripolen's Mischief. Yeah, I live stream in the woods because I don't know what else to do, and I like being in the woods. I count it towards my time outside, which is maybe what I'm going to name my second channel soon and make it, or maybe I'll just keep it T-Spot and make more videos of me spending time outside. No matter. We're going on to more stories. So next, we're going to dive into the tale of Mary Wilson Wallace, or as she might be more famously known, Oceanborn Mary. This is a New Hampshire ghost story, by the way. So to start, Mary Wilson Wallace was a real person. She was born in July of 1720 on a ship that was actually crossing the Atlantic to America. Her parents, James and Elizabeth Wilson, were just minding their own business on this ship when, as the legend goes, their ship was suddenly raided by pirates. And here's where things get interesting. These pirates apparently had a soft spot for newborn babies, so instead of plundering and wedding their way across the ship, they took a look at the baby, Mary, and they felt some sort of piratey compassion, perhaps it was Luffy, and they offered to leave peacefully, but on one condition, and that condition was that the child be named after one of them, because pirates love to leave legacies. As a parting gift, they even gave the family a green silk wedding gown for Mary, because hey, why not plan ahead for a baby's wedding day while you're out raiding ships? So, fast forward, Mary grows up in Londonderry, New Hampshire, and she ends up being a striking 6-foot-tall redhead with glowing green eyes, and I'm talking about not in like the demonic sense and like the pretty sense. Talk about making an entrance, though. She marries James Wilson Wallace. She lives a peaceful life. She has 4 sons, and then James passes, and she moved in with her son William, and she lived to the ripe old age of 94, passing away in 1814, and was buried in Henniker, New Hampshire. And as for that pirate wedding gown, pieces of it are all scattered across museums in New Hampshire, because who doesn't love a little piece of pirate lore history? And this is where things get weird, though. In the 1930s, a couple named Louis and Flora Ray bought Robert Wallace's old home. That's Mary's son's house, for the record. I know the story's a little discombobulated right now, but it'll come together. And Mary, for the record, never lived in the son's house. But the Rays weren't going to let facts get in the way of a good ghost story. They filled the place with random trinkets, and they claimed these trinkets belonged to Mary, and they started spinning tales. According to them, they said the pirate who gave Mary the wedding dress actually came back to visit her in her old age and buried his treasure on the property, and left it for anyone brave enough to dig it up. If they could get past the ghost of Oceanborn Mary, that is. Sorry, I got distracted. So, dun. The story goes that Mary fiercely defended this pirate treasure in life, but she met a tragic end in the process. And because of that she now haunts the land, scaring off any treasure hunters who dare come looking for the pirate's gold. And naturally, the Rays sold shovels to anyone willing to give it a go. Gotta love that entrepreneurial spirit. But perhaps the spookiest part of the legend comes from a more modern-day account. Allegedly, some lost travelers once stopped at the house asking for directions, only to be actually greeted at this home that supposedly Oceanborn Mary lived in, but probably didn't. And they were greeted at the door by a tall, red-haired woman dressed in colonial garb who said nothing. She just stood there silently, and some people say this was Oceanborn Mary, but who knows? The story, it's told enough that it makes you kind of think twice before you go knocking on strange doors in New Hampshire. So, hopefully that story made sense. It's a little bit confusing, but that's the story of Oceanborn Mary. To sum it up, though, realistically, this was a house that Mary probably visited in New Hampshire. That's the haunted house today, but she never actually lived in it. It was her son's house, and some con people essentially bought it and heard the story of Oceanborn Mary, which is probably true, the one where a pirate actually, gave her this weird wedding dress. That part might not be true, but there were pirates involved in the naming of Mary, is the general thought. That part's real. But she is kind of a folklore figure simultaneously. But then these con men heard that story, and they decided, you know what, let's have that pirate, who was presumably much older than Mary, come visit her in her old age, which I don't know how much sense that makes, but okay. And then let's have him stay with her and then bury treasure on the property, and then let's sell people shovels to look for gold which doesn't exist, which actually is a pretty good business plan and reminds me of a lot of crypto schemes, but I don't need to get into that too much. And there goes my phone. So, let's look at the comments for a second. Yes, it is Samhain. You are correct, Brett. It is Samhain. I swear, on my life, I know it is Samhain. I think very well. But sometimes I look at the word, the way it's written, and I say salmon, or salmon, or horrible things. Okay, so let's check. First off, Highland Burial Society, thank you so much for joining as a scout. If you don't know, and no pressure at all to anyone, hold on to your money, unless you really, really want to give it or something. I'm doing okay. But Scout is the lowest tier of my, essentially, YouTube version of Patreon, YouTube memberships. I think I'm going to open up a real Patreon, because I think people are more familiar with it, and it lets me keep more of a chunk than YouTube does, I think. But it exists. If you feel so inclined to join, I won't get upset about it. But also, I love you all equally, no matter what, and you're all my pals. So no pressure at all. But thank you so much, Highland Burial Society, for joining. Did she love him? Asks Foreign and Durban Farming at. Okay, that's a long name. I don't know if she did. There's some versions of this that are a love story where the pirate comes back and they fall in love, yada, 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 and then he buries the treasure. That's not the predominant version, though. Promised to marry but didn't come back from sea. That's, okay, that is a version, I guess. Shuba Goober. I'm going to be streaming probably for another 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to try and do a 45-minute live stream, and I'm going to do my best to make those stories new where I can. And I have one more story to tell tonight, and then I'll do a little bit of walking in the woods, get my steps up and say hi, show you all the creepy woods, which aren't so creepy, actually. I'm in them quite a lot. My EMF meter's on in my pocket. Is that an EMF meter, or are you just happy to see me? Okay, back to the story. So, this is the last story in the woods on Halloween night, so hopefully we make it a good one. So I thought I'd pull up an oldie on this one. So this is about Clinton Road in New Jersey. So when I wrote this, I just pulled this right from my old script. But it featured 2 haunted roads in one state on the New Jersey video, which that was like a 15-minute video, so that's pretty amazing. But if you don't know, Clinton Road is supposedly one of the most haunted videos in all of New Jersey, and maybe all of the world, if you believe some people. This road is located in West Milford, New Jersey, and it runs for about 10 miles. And it attracts lots of attention because of the wide varieties of claims about it. Supposed sightings of cryptids, the nearby woods harboring groups of unsavory individuals ranging from Satanists, which, and also some hate groups and cults. And also there are supposedly serial killers that roam there, or historically did, and sometimes, of course, even ghosts. Now, from a historical perspective, this road gets its name from the town Clinton, which used to be located in this area. And there is some true horror that has occurred here. For instance, a body was actually dumped along Clinton Road in 1983 before being discovered by a cyclist, guy riding his bicycle down Clinton Road. But otherwise, the road is pretty mundane to some degree. Despite this, there's a seemingly never-ending list of odd occurrences that can supposedly happen to you here. To start, there's, and this is the one you'll see on TikTok a lot, there's tales of ghostly cars driving at night. As the legend goes, it's usually Camaro or some variety of sports car from the 80s or 90s. And if you bring these vehicles up while you're driving down the road, you're supposedly putting yourself in a position to be haunted by their manifestations and their ghostly drivers. They say that if you mention the crashes while you're driving along this road, suddenly, behind you, you'll see headlights start to creep up on you, and then they'll tail you really closely, and sometimes, if you're unlucky, they'll drive beside you. And luckily, just as they swerve into your car, really good time for a Mustang to rev it or something. People know cars better than me. Some sort of sports car was just revving. So Anyways, then it'll veer into your car and disappear. There's also, along this road, the aptly named Ghost Boy Bridge, which, as you'd expect, is a bridge that at midnight is supposedly haunted by the phantom of a young man who drowned in the nearby Clinton Brook Reservoir. They say if you stop your car here and look into the water off this bridge, you might be actually pushed from behind into the water over the bridge by this little ghost boy. Sometimes you hear things in the woods that sound like whispering. And when you're talking about a ghost boy, if you don't know me, ghost children spook me. That's creepy. So if you head off into Clinton Road, maybe I'll say this the third time correctly. Now, if you head off of Clinton Road into the woods, though, things get even more dangerous. There are tales that in the forest surrounding this road in 1939, 2 park rangers actually passed away while working, and there are accounts by campers in the area that claim to have run into these rangers. You can also find an abandoned iron smelter that was built in 1826 and is currently listed by the National Register of Historic Places as the Clinton Furnace. But rumors say that for whatever reason, this site is a place where druids practiced rituals back in the day, and into today, I should say. And they say that if you interrupt them, they might attack you. Although, I kind of highly doubt that druids are worshipping an iron smelter, or that they're violent. I mean, I don't know much about druids other than my time playing World of Warcraft, but when I was a druid, I always turned into a cat and a bear. I wasn't very dangerous to, I guess, at least my fellow Horde members. Anyhow, there are also tales of strange creatures lingering in these woods. For instance, they say a hellhound dwells around Clinton Road, and also, for whatever reason, monkeys are frequently sighted. Perhaps those are the devil monkeys we talked about that are haunting that town in New Hampshire. And they're not exactly supernatural. So, anyhow, that is Clinton Road in New Jersey. A road that harbors what used to be the old town of Clinton. So, anyhow, thought I would tell some stories in the woods for Halloween. And now I'm gonna make sure I didn't drop any of my stuff. We're gonna go for a short walk. And wow, sitting on that log, not to be TMI, but my pants started riding down. But we're good now. Plus I'm in the woods, so I don't even need pants. So I'll just go for a short walk here. And say happy Halloween. For the Horde! Oh man, I haven't heard that in too long. Maybe I should boot up some WoW Classic. Maybe I'll start a T Storytime Guild. That would be an interesting trajectory in life. So, I thought druids could conjure familiars. That sounds, Kimberly, that sounds accurate. I think druids and witches are synonymous in some cultures. But I don't know my druid lore as well as I should, because I know my American lore pretty well. Druids tend to stick to the other side of the pond, if I remember correctly. Wait, we're supposed to wear pants in the woods? I think pants are optional in the woods. But, I'm pretty loosey-goosey with my rules. So what do I know? Happy Halloween! Let's see, Viramonte. Pants are optional. Maybe pants are always optional. Maybe they should be. Although I do like wearing pants at work, largely because my office is really cold right now. So if I was going to run into somebody in the woods, other than me being weird out here, I think tonight's the night, right? I feel like there's probably some rowdy kids in some set of woods in my town. I'm glad you were able to come. Thank you for watching. I love telling stories, and I'm going to try to weekly, now that it's cool and there aren't bugs, get out into the woods, away from my living room, and do some live storytelling. So you'll see it when there's no leaves in the trees, and very much into the winter when there's snow on the ground. Which then maybe I'll tell a different variety of story. Maybe stories about cryptids that are in the snowy parts of the world. Maybe stories about ghosts that are winter themed. And perhaps maybe a little bit of true crime that borders on paranormal. Though true crime isn't really my thing. I try to stay in my own little weird stuff niche. But it's been really nice being able to say happy Halloween to y'all. Let's look. I'm glad you enjoyed it. No clowns though. I don't like clowns. Yeah, no, I'm definitely going. So Thanksgiving's getting a video this year. I'm calling it. I know I said 8 videos this month, and I really made 6.5, which I feel pretty bad about. But one's in progress. And it'll kind of be a bonus in Thanksgiving too, because it's mostly done. And then next week's video is about done. And yeah, I will make a Thanksgiving special this year though. And I'm going to make a Christmas special. So I have some fun plans. One, if you haven't seen it, I made a history of Santa Claus video way back in the day, which was, I know it sounds crazy because I'm now kind of a half spooky stuff guy, but that video was an introduction to actually doing thorough research on a topic for YouTube. I think it was the first video I was really proud of. So I'm going to remaster that, re-record it, and I kind of want to make a video on, just a little bonus video on Christmas on whatever cryptids from the holiday season. So your elves and reindeer and the origin, I don't know if you call them cryptids, but the origin of Christmassy and Christmas adjacent folklore figures around the world. So lots of holiday content coming this year, and next year I should be finished with my way too ambitious Halloween documentary, and I'll definitely be here next year. And if I'm not, I'm going to upload it somewhere. Although I will be here. The only reason I wouldn't be is if I got kicked off, which I don't think I'm doing anything too bad. Let's see. Tease Turkey Day. Oh man, I should say that actually. Tease Turkey Time. I'm not going to change my channel name for a day. But I will say, instead of howdy doody, welcome to Tease Story Time, I'll say hi, howdy, welcome to Tease Turkey Time. And then, when you're watching that, I might be in Knoxville, Tennessee, watching, hopefully, oh yeah, not to get into college football, but to end this episode, I don't know if y'all pray or whatnot. Whatever you do, you know, love you all the same. But you could give my Tennessee Volunteers a little bit of a thumbs up this Saturday playing Oklahoma. They're fringe playoff contenders, I think. And it's okay if they break my heart, but that's what I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Anyhow, I'm going to turn this off. Rule number 1 is don't exit the woods with the lights on. And attract attention. And that's it for me. So, happy Halloween, y'all. Hey, let's give you... Wait, can you see my hand? I'm going to go over here into the lights. And I'm going to wave goodbye. Happy Halloween, y'all. I hope you had a good one. And I hope that y'all enjoy your evenings and a little bit of candy. And howdy doody and goodbye. Have a good night, folks. Whoop.